PTI back in moments to debate the most interesting free agency storyline in the NBA, plus a monster deal just coming down with Woj standing by in studio.
And we're going to look at some unresolved issues before teams come together at NFL training camps this month. But first, breaking free agency news out of the NBA, folks. The Mavs have some new Klay to mold a finals team with. I can feel the judgment from you, Kevin. Adrian Wojnarowski, the man reporting it, he didn't laugh at all. That doesn't make me feel some kind of way. Klay Thompson leading the Dubs after 13 years and 4 titles. The Splash Brothers splashing down to Dallas, 3 years, $50 million. The Mavs landed the biggest free agent left on the market, and it came down to them and the Lakers. LeBron even reached out to Thompson. Since Klay returned from his Achilles injury 3 seasons ago, only Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, and his new teammate Luka Doncic have made more three-pointers, including the playoffs. Dallas ranks 13th in three-point percentage last season at 37%. He has been a busy man and joins us now, senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. And when you want great analysis, you show a little leg. Tim Legler is joining us as well. Woj, why did Klay choose Dallas?
The chance to win, going to the NBA Finals, playing with Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. Financially, the difference between living in Texas and California was part of it too. But listen, I think for Klay Thompson, I think he knew most of the season. This was his last year in Golden State. He was able to get a 3-year, $50 million deal, and I think he's got a lot to prove. And I think he sees an opportunity to build another chapter in his legacy by winning with a team in Dallas. That was 3 wins away from winning a title without him.
It's interesting you said a lot to prove. It felt like that with Kyrie Irving, right?
Sure.
In Dallas, had a lot to prove. Then he got the monster deal. What do you think of this fit now with Klay, with Kyrie, and Luka?
I love it. Addresses something Dallas desperately needs. Now, the one thing that's going to be a lot different for Klay, his usage rate's going to be different. This is going to be mostly just off the ball, spot up shooting. They don't run a lot of off the ball action for shooters in Dallas. It's all about Luka and Kyrie and high ball screen and ISO. And you got to stand there and wait. And we know Klay Thompson can shoot, but the usage will be entirely different for him. There's going to be an adjustment period. I love it for Dallas because clearly when you saw what happened in the finals against the Boston Celtics, when you have that kind of a 3-point differential, you're just not giving yourself a chance to win on a nightly basis. Klay Thompson addresses that to a high degree. I think he's excited about it. Woj hit on it. I think he wants to play with Luka Doncic. I think that gives him, in his mind, the best shot to compete and contend for a title right now.
Okay, so while his usage rate may be going down, Woj, especially at this time of the year, is always going up. One breaking news begets more breaking news. What can you share with us right now?
Biggest contract in NBA history, Jason Tatum, 5 years, $314 million. Deal includes a player option, a trade kicker. Jason Tatum will be the first $70 million a year player in the NBA. This is a big day for Boston. We reported earlier, Derek White, 4 years, $126 million. And of course, their owner put the team on sale today. But this is a Celtic organization that has all their key players locked in on contracts now with White, with Tatum. There is going to be a massive bill to pay down the road, but they still have this group next year without having to make any tough decisions. They can bring them all back. That will change after next season, but there's a window here for Boston to win multiple championships with easily the deepest, most talented team in the league, and Jason Tatum, their best player now, $314 million.
All right, let's stay in the East here. You mentioned teams spending money, and there's this window here with Joel Embiid. We saw it, of course, some deals being made by Daryl Morey in Philly over the last 24 hours. The Sixers signing 9-time All-Star Paul George to a 4-year, $212 million max contract. Woj reporting it at 3:30 in the morning. George played in 74 games last season, his most in a season since 2018. Just hours later, they signed Tyrese Maxey, 5-year, $204 million max extension. Maxey set career highs in all 5 major categories last season. First-time All-Star, won the most improved player. This is immediately one of the best and most expensive trios in the league. Embiid signing a 4-year supermax extension entering 2021. He's underpaid now when you look at the numbers here across the board. The Sixers are now the first team in NBA history to sign 3 players to a $200 million contract. Wow! Health and availability will play a major role here in the Paul George-Joel Embiid partnership. In George's 5 seasons with the Clippers, he played in fewer than 70% of the team's games, including the playoffs. Embiid has played in 72% of the Sixers games during that span. And, Legs, when you look at this addition Specifically, the Sixers, known as a team that just gets into the second round and then goes home. What's the ceiling for this team?
Well, first of all, I want to say when you saw that graphic with those 3 contracts and you throw in Jason Tatum, it's almost $1 billion in salary. So I just want to say for the record, I wish my parents met 25 years later. Let's just start with that. Now, listen, Paul George, look, obviously fills a great need for them. They needed to upgrade the talent on the wing. They finally got out from under the contract to Tobias Harris. Paul George is going to address that now. An elite level scorer, plays both ends of the floor. Again, it's going to be different now in trying to find that blend with Tyrese Maxey, Embiid, and Paul George in terms of how they're going to run their offense. But Paul George, no question, answers a huge need in the regular season because you can almost pencil it in. Joel Embiid, at some point, he's going to miss 15, 20 games this year. You can almost bank on that. This helps you survive that. Their record wasn't very good last year when Embiid sat. That cost you seeding. That could be a big deal in the playoffs in a much better top of the East. Ultimately, though, this is a win for the Sixers in a big way. And I know you're feeling it as a Sixers fan.
Were you waiting up at 3:30 with me?
I'm not kidding. I woke up at 3:20 and looked at the feed and saw what you were posting. And then I went back to sleep. And then it broke 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Get some sleep in August, Woj.
Good news is we have people to just sort of follow Woj and make sure that we have all the breaking news as it comes in. So Woj is standing by. If anything else happens in this free agency period, we will certainly bring it to you. Thank you, Jeff.
Sports Center agent Wojnarowski reporting that Klay Thompson's 13-year run with the Warriors is over. Klay plans to join the Mavericks, 3 years, $50 million deal. He was the biggest free agent left in the market, and it came down to the Mavericks and the Lakers. LeBron even reached out to Thompson. He's talking about maybe taking a pay cut, and instead he is going to Dallas to join Kyrie and Luka. Much more on this story. NBA front office insider Bobby Marks. All right, take us through how the Mavs got this deal done, and when you look at the cap.
Well, it really started last Friday. Remember, Tim Hardaway Jr. gets traded to Detroit for Quentin Grimes. The goal all along was to sign Derrick Jones Jr. That was the goal to move there. Those negotiations fell through. Then they go out and they sign Najee Marshall to a really nice contract here. So that brought them to $170 million. They cannot exceed $178 million in a sign and trade. That's the only way you're going to get Klay Thompson here. So what they did was they roped in Charlotte. They're sending Josh Green to Charlotte. Golden State, now we're getting down to 157. Golden State is sending Klay Thompson to Dallas. And there you go, $173 million. They stay under there. They're allowed to add a little more salary here, but that's how they did it. It was basically a 3-step process, and basically it all happened because of the Jones negotiation fell through.
And then one of the big reasons why we heard Woj talk about it, the tax and a big difference from California and staying with potentially the Warriors or the Lakers compared to what you're going to get in Texas with the Mavericks. So with 3 years, $50 million, let's go to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Big loss for them. They were targeting Thompson, potentially joining his father and following the footsteps and wearing purple and gold. What's next here for LeBron James and company?
I don't know if we're going to get the LeBron James discount for any more players here. So here's where we're looking. They're at about $140 million right now. The second apron, the dreaded separate apron where you can't take more money back in a trade, you can't aggregate, you can't combine D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hachimura and send them out for $37 million. You can't do that if you exceed. Look where we have LeBron. We have him at his $50 million number. We slide LeBron in, you're at it. You're at the second apron. And that's who you are right now. You are limited to go out and make trades. You're limited to add to your roster. If you wanted to trade D'Angelo Russell, let's say, for a $20 million player, you are not allowed to do that. If you wanted to combine Hachimura and Russell for a $36 million player, you are not allowed to do that. It really restricts you as far as how you add to your roster. You really have to like your own players.
Yeah, and by the way, that second apron, that's part of the new CBA. That's why it's being heavily discussed. Lakers currently tied with the Suns with the 5th best odds to win the West next season. Bobby, thank you so much. For much more on free agency, here's Tony and Mike with tonight's PTI bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon. What has been the most intriguing NBA free agent moves so far?
Tony, there's a few things in the running. Obviously, Klay Thompson in a sign and trade going to Dallas. Hartenstein going to OKC, leaving the Knicks. Paul George, of course, going to Philly, leaving the Clippers. And KCP leaving Denver, where he was with a championship team and in the starting lineup, and going to Orlando. So they're all in the running. And obviously the big splashes are Klay Thompson and Paul George. And I'm happy to see Paul George because I think Philly's going to be a threat now. I mean, behind the Celtics, but a threat. Hartenstein going to OKC, Tony, to me, there was one weakness they had: size. They tried to address it before the trade deadline. They couldn't get anything done. They go out and they get Alex Caruso, a wonderful defensive player. They got him from the Bulls. He comes over. If there was a weakness, he shores that up a little bit, and then boom, they get a 7-footer who's completely active and low maintenance and is going to rebound and defend and do all those dirty work things that OKC needs. I'm going to say he is, and no one will notice him because Klay Thompson and Paul George will get the headlines, deservedly so, but I'm looking toward OKC having acquired a guy who makes a huge difference.
I'm going to concentrate on Klay Thompson because I think this is the end of an era. The Golden State Warriors, that's over right now. That was a great team. That was a dynasty.
Yep.
And what happened was that Steph Curry came in 2009 and Klay Thompson 2011 and Draymond Green in 2012. They became a big three, but nobody called them a big three.
That's right.
They were allowed to grow together organically. Nobody was plucked and brought into that mix. And the result was more titles by a lot than any other team in the last 15 years who may have gone out and tried to pluck people and stick them in an artificial big three situation. And that's gone now. Now, I know you like Oklahoma City, but as I look around the landscape now, I don't see a dynasty, maybe not even a dynasty in the making. The Golden State Warriors were a dynasty. The NBA will have another dynasty because all sports grow dynasties at one point or another. But I don't see it right now, and I'm sure that Golden State was a dynasty. I'm sure of that.
Not only do I not see it right now, I don't see it anytime in the reasonable future. Denver won, even though they had Joker, who was probably the best player in the world. The Celtics won, and all of a sudden people say, how many can they win? I don't know, because I'm looking around and seeing OKC and Minnesota and Dallas got better with Klay Thompson. And the Knicks are coming. The Knicks made a tremendous move getting Mikal Bridges. There's a lot of serious contenders out there, so I don't even know that I see a repeat, much less a dynasty. And I agree with you. That Golden State, man, it was a treat to watch. It's like rest in peace now, although I'm sure Draymond Green and Steph Curry told me, what is he talking about, rest in peace? We'll see. That's it. We're done.
Kevin and Elle back with you on SportsCenter. NBA free agency started at fast break speed. Here's some of the moves you may have missed. Chris Paul released by the Warriors, signing a one-year deal worth about $11 million with the Spurs. The 39-year-old joins Pop as the team builds around Rookie of the Year Victor Wembanyama. How about the Clippers? They lost Paul George, but kept James Harden. He gets a 2-year, $70 million deal. LA traded for Harden in October, and he helped the Clips make the playoffs by averaging 16 points and 8 assists. And the Thunder added center Isaiah Hartenstein on a 3-year, $87 million deal. Top West team OKC gets a little bit bigger, but the Knicks lose as Hartenstein was key insurance for oft-injured Mitchell Robinson. If you would have told me that we would have Tim twice in one show, I would have said, you're pulling my leg. But this is exactly what we do during NBA free agency. What's the bigger impact here? Hartenstein goes to the Thunder, or the idea that the Knicks let him walk in free agency?
I'm feeling positive, so let's focus on the addition.
Let's do that.
Okay, let's focus on the addition. It's got to be OKC adding him. First of all, they have a depth problem in OKC as it is. They were the number one seed in the West, but clearly weren't good enough to make a run through the West. So they get deeper. They add Alex Caruso. Now they add Hartenstein. The other thing they needed, size up front. Rebounding was a major problem for this team at times. And if they played certain big physical front lines, it became something that was going to be tough for them to overcome. And the best thing about Hartenstein of all, you don't have to change anything you do offensively. Everything he does is just simply through hard work. Screen dive, screen dive, screen dive all night long. He's got great touch in the paint. You don't have to run post ISOs. You don't have to do anything different. Just put him on the court and let him be active. He will make opportunities happen for himself with great touch in the paint, and he's great on the offensive glass. Mitchell Robinson is still in New York. They still do have a center on their roster, but let's see what they do now going forward. Is there something they're looking at to upgrade that spot?
By the way, Thunder adding Alex Caruso as well, so defensively they have some of those weapons there. The second best odds to win the West behind the Nuggets. It is only day two, but which team out there is taking a step step backwards?
It's got to be the Clippers, right? Because you had a guy that basically just walked out the door. I mean, he opted out and left. That's a tough thing for the Clippers to be able to recover from. And it looks now like what they had put together that they thought was going somewhere never really came to fruition. A lot of it had to do with Kawhi Leonard and injuries, the way he finished the year this season, hurt. Paul George now was going to be a guy you were going to be counting on to make up for some of that if Kawhi Leonard wasn't there. Instead, he decides to opt out and then leaves. And he goes to a team now in Philadelphia that the Clippers are going to have to watch contend in the Eastern Conference, because I think Philly can. There's a lot of questions about Paul George related to his postseason consistency and going to a pressure-packed environment in Philadelphia in those big moments in the postseason. That remains to be seen, but it's a significant upgrade for them in a regular season. For the Clippers, there's no way you could look at them today and say they're as big as a threat as they were at the start of last season.
Vegas is watching. Clippers tie with the Kings for the 10th best odds to win the West at 25-1.
Those are not great odds, man. Yeah. No. Good luck. Or other words, break a. Okay, I'm sorry. Speaking of more breaking news in the NBA today. I got three in you guys.
Three in one
summer show. Adrian Wojnarowski reports that Celtics star Jason Tatum has agreed to a 5-year, $314 million contract extension, Kevin. That makes him the richest player in NBA history. That's like almost $70 million annually. It's crazy.
And they bought the team for $360 million.
100%, right? Can you imagine? They're spending money as they get out. You may remember he led Boston to a league record 18 championship and did pretty well for him. 22 points, 8 boards, 7 assists in those finals. But you take a look here. He made his first team All-NBA in 3 straight seasons, won his first title this past season. And among players to debut since the merger, Tatum's one of just 5 players with at least 3 first-team All-NBA selections and a championship within his first 7 seasons. He joins 4 all-time greats in Michael Jordan.
Video hướng dẫn cách làm một chiếc ống cắm bút giống như thế này nhé. Các bạn bắt tay vào làm cùng tôi nha. Mình bỏ phần dư đi. Bây giờ mình sẽ cắt. Mọi người sẽ đặt kéo, mọi người cắt ở ngoài rìa cho mình. Cứ làm lần lượt từng đường một. Tiếp tục. Cứ làm lần lượt cho đến hết nhé. Rồi mình bỏ phần dư đi. Mình được cái hình bát giác như thế này. Mình sẽ sử dụng để mình làm cái đáy của cái ống cắm bút này. Bây giờ mình làm cái phần trang trí. Mình sử dụng cái tấm bìa màu xanh này nhé. Mình gập nó vào. Làm 4 phần bằng nhau. Gập vào làm 4 phần bằng nhau. Rồi. Bây giờ mình sẽ cắt nó ra làm đôi này. Tại vì cái bìa của mình nó khá là dày và cứng. Nếu mà mình không cắt đôi, mình cứ gập vào như vậy thì nó sẽ nó bị cộm ấy, rất là khó để làm nhé. Đây mình tiếp tục mình gập làm đôi. Phần bên này mình cũng gập đôi như vậy nhé. Rồi bây giờ mình sẽ vẽ hình lên đây. Mình sẽ vẽ hình giọt nước nha mọi người. Vẽ hình giọt nước. Đây. Và mình sẽ cắt nó ra. Mình cắt ra theo đường đã vẽ. Đây mình sẽ đưa hình giọt nước như thế này nhé. Bây giờ mình sẽ đặt cái phần giọt nước này lên trên cái tấm mà mình chưa vẽ. Đặt trên tấm này và bây giờ mình sẽ vẽ viền theo. Mình vẽ viền theo. Rồi, giờ mình sẽ cắt nó ra theo cái hình đã vẽ thì mình sẽ được những cái hình nó giống nhau. Mình cắt cái giọt nước này ra nhé. Rồi mình sẽ bỏ phần dư đi. Mình bây giờ mình sẽ dán những cái giọt nước này vào trong cái phần ống cắm bút của mình. Mình sẽ bôi keo vào. Bôi keo vào. Sau đó mình áp vào chính giữa mỗi mặt nhé mọi người. Mỗi mặt mình lại áp một cái. Cứ làm lần lượt cho đến hết. Tiếp tục bôi keo và áp vào. Mình sẽ áp theo kiểu so le như thế này. Cái ngược, cái xuôi. Đây. Chứ mình sẽ không áp cùng chiều nhé, mình sẽ áp so le. Nhìn nó sẽ kiểu nó nghệ thuật hơn đấy mọi người. Mình tiếp tục mình áp vào. Cứ làm lần lượt cho đến hết. Tiếp tục một cái cuối cùng, mình lại sẽ áp so le vào nhé. Bôi keo và áp vào. Rồi. Đây mình được cái phần ống rất là đẹp rồi. Mình giật hết phần keo dư dính trên này đi nhé. Sau đó thì mình sẽ dùng bút, mình sẽ vẽ cái đường trang trí. Mình vẽ những cái đường nét đứt theo cái hình giọt nước này. Đây. Mình vẽ vào như thế này cho nó được nổi bật và nó đẹp hơn ấy. Cứ vẽ lần lượt cho đến hết nha mọi người. Tiếp tục vẽ. Còn một chút xíu nữa là mình sẽ hoàn thành rồi. Rồi. Một cái cuối cùng. Mình cũng vẽ viền theo. Xong bây giờ mình sẽ dán nó vào. Mình sẽ bôi keo theo phần viền của nó nhé. Bôi keo vào này. Tiếp tục bôi keo. Một đường nữa. Sau đấy mình sẽ áp nó vào chính giữa. Áp vào chính giữa cái phần đế này. Mình ấn xuống cho nó dính thật là chắc nhé. Rồi. Mình sẽ được cái phần ống cắm bút rất là xinh. Bây giờ mình sẽ dùng cái phần màu đen. Mình sẽ vẽ những cái đường trang trí vào. Mình vẽ đường trang trí ở từng góc một nhé. Đây mình vẽ lần lượt cho đến hết. Rồi. Đây mọi người nhìn. Cái này nó sẽ khiến cho cái phần đế của mình nó nổi hơn, nó đẹp hơn. Đấy, xinh hơn rất là nhiều. Và đây là thành phẩm nhé. Sau khi làm xong mình có cái ống cắm bút rất là xinh như vậy. Các bạn tham khảo cách làm của mình để có thể tạo ra được những cái ống cắm bút giống vậy nha. Chúc các bạn thành công và hẹn gặp lại ở những video tiếp theo.